What's happening now is the days of quick bucks and being an influencer with no substance and value in return for whoever they're promoting are gone. So this is a great opportunity for anyone out there that, especially in the military community, the stories I've heard from people on your show, and it just scratches the surface of, these are experts. These people have something to give, something that they've lived their whole life that they don't realize. So find your passion and then find your audience. It's really easy. Again, you're giving. You're providing something that is your insight, your expertise. Give it away, and because it will come back to you tenfold, and you will find your audience based on that niche.
We are The David Johnson Show, bringing the veteran community stories and perspectives so you can design the life that you deserve.
Strong like a tree, there's roots where I
Thank you for joining the David Johnson Show out here in Phoenix, Arizona. Today we are joined by Matt O'Brien. Thanks for coming on the show, Matt.
Oh, my pleasure. It's quite an honor to be on the show.
Thank you. You've been a staple in the community here in Phoenix for many decades, and I understand right now there's a chapter going on in your life where you're heavily involved within the veteran community.
That's true. The word volunteer shows up a lot with nonprofit organizations. I've been involved with St. Vincent de Paul early, and recently I was brought on as a board member of the Arizona Foundation, where our mission is to help veterans with entrepreneurship, employment, and education. So those three things work together, and we have the largest hire event in the nation here in Phoenix in November.
Wow.
So we got our fourth inaugural event coming up.
Wow.
And it's putting jobs with from post military operation and getting them transitioned into a happy, hopefully awesome job for them.
Well, I know you have a unique skill set that's going to play into that we'll talk about, but briefly talk to me about this job event. What makes it so big? How does it go down? Do you have people on both sides, the employers, the veterans, and they come together, or what's the uniqueness about it?
That's exactly it. We're bringing the employers and the vets in active military, and there's a lot of pre-screening, just trying to make sure that there's a fit, so when they show up, they're actually meeting with people that want to hire them on the spot.
Wow.
And then all of the resources for, resume building and finding your passion and making all the connections. That's probably the thing that's lacking in the military community is we have this event and we've been doing it for many years, and we're like, okay, there's a go-to company that's got the database of all the vets and all of the organizations that are involved, and it's so splintered. It's amazing. It just brought to life. In fact, last year I did a closing remark, and I just said, we all need to make a commitment to build a database and work together. We're all helping and trying to achieve the same thing, but we're working together, but we're not really engaged with activities that can make it easier for us, like internet and stuff, which is my passion.
Right. So to briefly touch on that point, the splintering, I mean, you see this on a national level there are, I can't even quote a number because it's so large, but there are tons of veteran nonprofits, and you see this splintering all across the nation?
Yeah, someone has a passion and interest, and they want to start a nonprofit, and typically you need volunteers and money to get those going. And what happens is that as a single entity, your exposure and ability to have an impact is so much smaller. And working together with organizations that maybe are doing the exact same thing. There's a great example here in the community, St. Vincent de Paul. They're working on an application to build this impact app, an app that connects all of the nonprofits in the community to work together. They're saying, hey, there's a big ocean out there. Let's work together. Maybe your passion is not with helping what their mission is. But they feed 4,000 people a day across the valley. But they're looking at it and saying, it's better to bring someone here, and if it's not a fit for them, let's guide them to the right nonprofit that will keep them active for the rest of their life.
Wow, it's a big deal. So you have a skill set, I call it. I met you about 10 years ago, and I was immediately impressed. You have a very specific skill set. And Darren, if you've seen other chapters on the show, we talk about chapters or other chapters on the show, other episodes on the show.
You got it.
We talk about chapters in life. And you've had this chapter in your life that has probably gone different paths and different ways. But since 1996, you've been, you started building websites, and you've been in this digital space the entire time, digital marketing, digital strategies. As a matter of fact, you are the CEO of Mint Social, which 2 years running in a row now, awarded one of the top digital strategy firms in Arizona. But you could take that skill set, you could use it to teach some of these nonprofits different lessons that I think we're going to get into. But there's so much that you can do and help veterans on maybe how to market themselves, on how to create markets if veterans are trying to do things online, maybe from a branding standpoint. And you bring this amazing 2 decades plus skill set to the table. Is that right?
That's correct. And yes, I am, at the end of this show, I'm going to provide a link to anybody that's a veteran out there that's interested in either starting a business or figuring out what their passion is. And, with the scare of what's going on in the community right now, it's sending people at home. People are working from home. So when you're back at home and, your company may or may still be around, you're like, what can you do? What's your passion? And can we get veterans to start businesses and have an impact in the community? So, I've been in the space since '96. As you said, I started a company. I quit my corporate job and, started building websites. And back then it was like, have you ever heard of this thing called the internet? It's going to be big. And they're like, what? Are you kidding me? But, I just, fast forward, I just feel that there's a challenge to navigate all the complexities of the internet. And we're a content marketing and syndication company. We take content and we get it to where people are. And, people that have a voice, it's like we've been hearing great stories of the guests on your show. And there's a common denominator, which is they're all saying, find what your passion is. What motivates you to get up in the morning and make a difference in this world? And how can we channel those energies? So, it's really a matter of taking a look at something like LinkedIn and saying, how could you write a LinkedIn profile that people, I call them the hunted, like people hunt down the experts, right? They're looking for people that are the best. So how can you be one of those that's the hunted? And I think a term in the military, people understand being hunted, but this is in a good way because you're so darn good. You're compelling and you can help people out. And that's what we want to find the passion for. So there'll be more about that, but we'll provide a link on this show for people that want to get involved.
Tell me some stories because, I have a lot of veteran friends on Facebook, on Instagram. A lot of my friends and just people I don't even know but come across. As a matter of fact, we had a guest on the show yesterday from Raw, Real American Heroes Coffee. They're heavy on Instagram. They have a very strong social presence. I feel they're doing a good job because I personally enjoy their content. So what are some of the mistakes you see? You talk about businesses and how to get businesses up and going in social, and then you talk about how to, I don't want to say create a market, but how to distribute the content to the market, because the market's already there. You're not creating people, so to speak, online, but you have to connect the people online to the person, quote unquote, posting. What are some strategies you see, or people doing things maybe that they shouldn't be doing, or
yeah, right.
What are your thoughts on that?
So, you're talking about building a community and an audience for whatever is your business, your service, your passion. So, as someone like Instagram, it serves. It's the law of attraction is really what it comes down to with social media. We start something, we want to connect, we want to find that audience, but really at the end of the day, it's about giving. It's about, are you providing something that's consumable, that's valuable, that keeps me coming back? And social media is a giving network. You're essentially putting something out there, and in hopes if it resonates with your audience, then that's great. So, I've been in social media space for a long time, and I did a social experiment on Instagram because I got so tired of the self-promotion, and I wanted to see if I could connect and pull in a spiritually connected audience, people that are really passionate and spiritually motivated. And my entire Instagram account transformed overnight. And I started looking at it from a standpoint of, oh my gosh. And I did a really interesting test in LinkedIn. We were hired by a company that was starting a vetting for dating. So essentially, it's a background check before I'm going to go on a date with you. So this gal who had a full-time job, and she was on LinkedIn, very a C-level executive, and we created an alter ego for her on LinkedIn. And so I had to find this audience for her. And so same name, same, different company, but we built a resume. We built her LinkedIn to make it look like she was the expert in the space, and she had been living her entire life to do this passion. And I was blown away with the results. You would not believe what's lurking in LinkedIn.
Wow.
And we found the audience, and it was the total attraction. We pulled it in, and I was like, wow, I'm surprised some of this stuff's still allowed on LinkedIn.
Wow, that's crazy. What are are there certain trends you've seen in the industry lately? I mean, times have changing 20 years. Where are we at today?
Yeah, so going from, have you heard of this thing called the internet, to now, when I started my company Mint Social, it was really around leveraging social media. I think I had mentioned to you before, I once had a blog technology that was competitive to WordPress and Blogger, and we had about 4,000 blogs, so about 4,000 customers, and we built a network of communities that could stay-at-home moms, veterans, ASU students right here locally, and they could log in and get a job. And when we had this huge blog network, this was the epiphany that I realized that I was like, oh my God, I built a company with a totally wrong business model, and we got to either shut down or recreate.
Wow.
And so, what happened is that I realized that everyone has the same problem today. They spend a lot of time and money on a video. We spend time on podcasts. We write content, and it just falls on deaf ears. And it's really challenging. So I've been trying to figure out a solution to solve everyone's problem, or specifically people that have a passion, a purpose, and that's why I love working with military.
I like to give me an example, and for these veteran guys and gals, just producing content. What's an example of, and you were going along that path, how you could take one piece of content, turn that into 5 pieces of content, and then syndicate that through multiple channels. That's a way to multiply your force, if you will, and multiply your efforts to what could hopefully achieve bigger results.
Absolutely. So let's look at your show, The David Johnson Show. So you're creating an awareness and a need to find those stories of people that have been successful, that have had failures, and give a path, show a path for other people that can be successful. So it's really easy to create content if you're at home. You can jump on a Zoom. I like this tool called Loom, Loom. Or I use a thing called Join Me. So jump on a call with a friend, record it. I use a tool like Casting Words that will translate it for super cheap. All of a sudden you have a podcast or a video. You got a piece of content that, rule of thumb is 1 minute is about 100 words, 3 minutes, 300. So if you have a 10-minute show, you got about 1,000 words of content that you can then take that content and dissect it. So we like to take photos, screenshots. We have a video. We got a podcast. We're going to syndicate this out, and we have about 100 different channels that we can leverage that. And what this is doing is it's building your audience.
Wow. I follow some veteran, the term influencers. I don't know when that term came about, but you can't turn around now and, without somebody trying to be an influencer somewhere. But I follow, one of the guests we had earlier, Craig, on the show, Craig Sawyer. I would call him an influencer, definitely online. And I think personally, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, a lot of veterans are out there trying to be influencers online. I just think that is an uphill battle. That is not easy, number one, to get the traction needed. Yeah. Number two, if this is going to be your full-time job and to actually generate revenue off this, it's going to pay the bills. That seems to me like a business model that's not easy.
Yeah, so most people, I want to be an influencer, so I'm just going to build an audience. So you can buy automated tools and you can get your followers up to 10,000 quickly. But what's happening now is the days of quick bucks and being an influencer with no substance and value in return for whoever they're promoting are gone. So this is a great opportunity for anyone out there that, especially in the military community, the stories I've heard from people on your show, and it just scratches the surface of these are experts. These people have something to give, something that they've lived their whole life that they don't realize. So find your passion and then find your audience. It's really easy. Again, you're giving. You're providing something that is your insight, your expertise. Give it away, and because it will come back to you tenfold, and you will find your audience based on that niche. And then you know what? Sponsors will come to you. You'll be able to, if you want to do a podcast show, that's what it is. Because it's like, David Johnson, if you're just, a non-military guy that just wants to interview vets, but you have a story, you have credibility. And everyone has a story and everyone has credibility. The challenge is it's tough for us to talk about ourselves, right? And we don't want to toot our own horn, and, you're kind of designed to be humble in the military anyway. So, you're not going to be coming out and trying to, say I'm the greatest thing in the world. And a lot of those stories you can't talk about.
I like that. Find your passion and find your audience. To that point, I understand you had an event in your life recently. Your father passed away, and that really kind of put you, and again, I keep going back to these chapters in your life. It comes up with every guest we have on the show, and dare I say that opened up a new chapter in your life? Is that?
Man, it was one of those downward spiral chapters, which you don't really realize. But yeah, my father passed away over 4 years ago from a brain tumor, and he had 6 months from diagnosis to death, and
I'm sorry, 6 months.
6 months with chemo, radiation,
Wow.
All of that. And, he wanted to travel the world. And I'm like, I'd like to give him that time back. But, so what happened is my health deteriorated from there. And the first question was, I have this business. It was at the peak of my success. I was really cranking, and it was so empty and hollow. I felt like a hollow soul. I really had a hard time looking at what, it was a question, you question everything, but it's like, why am I here on earth? And making money is no longer something that really motivated me.
Wow.
So what happened is I was playing hockey. I've been playing my whole life, and I passed out. I was trying to go to the bench, and I just completely hit the ice like a sack of potatoes. And I played the next week, and same thing happened. I passed out. So I went to the heart doc, and they're like, let's check you out. And they couldn't find anything wrong with me, so I continued to play. And a couple of years later, I went blind on the ice. And meanwhile, my health was deteriorating, and I kept asking that question. It was like, why am I here on earth, and what am I supposed to be doing? And I think that when you come out of the military, I'm not from the military, but I know the stories, you have a lot of layers on you. You're like an onion. And God was just peeling away the layers that had been callousing me to see and really genuinely connect. And once I got down to a layer, the epiphany came. It's like, I have the ability to transform my company from anybody that wants to just work with me to putting it out there and saying, I want to work with spiritually focused, purpose-based businesses that are impacting the world.
Wow.
And it starts locally. Here's the other thing that people don't realize. I don't care what your business is, nationally, globally, it starts in your community you're in. What are you doing in the community that is going to get my attention? Because we don't hug brands, we hug people. And I don't care about what you're selling me until I know you're a real person that I can connect with. And that's what's missing in the entrepreneur startup space is we're so focused about getting a business and making money, and we forget about how we can impact the community. And if we start there, all of a sudden my story is much more interesting.
I like it. So veterans need to play into that somehow with that story.
It's built in. It's built in.
Built in.
How many times have you been said, hey, someone says, thank you for your service. By the way, thank you for your service, right? That opens up a conversation. Tell me about it. What motivates you now? What did it do to you personally? And why are you here today? Those are the things that are the foundation of, and here's the other big miss. When you start a company, people forget to promote themselves as experts. So they have this brand out there, but they're like, where's the person behind the brand? And okay, you went to the military, but what have you done in between? That's an amazing story. And if it isn't an amazing story, it still is, because we love triumph, we love tragedy. Bad news travels fast, right? So if I have a bad story, it's probably pretty good for promoting my business.
Wow. You're a very intellectual man. I've noticed that about you over the years. Very smart man, especially in this industry. You are. You've been in it a long time. That's a fact. You're always ahead of the curve. In a minute or so, where's this industry going? I know a lot of people would be curious about that.
Yeah. So 11 years ago when I started Mint Social, it was social media, and that was experiment, blogs, and syndication, and getting the word out there. What's happening today is it's transforming from a cloud-based give away a service and make money on the data to this blockchain is coming in, and cryptocurrency is going to impact the world. So what we see is the disassembly of the big social networks, the life after Google, what's next from, they give away all these great tools, but they're making money on all of our data, right?
Right.
So what if you could make money on your own data from your activities online, from exactly what you do? So it's influencer marketing meets blockchain, and all of a sudden, your activity online can be monetized. Wow. And there's social networks out there right now, like Patreon, that is a podcasting network where people can make money off of their shows. And we're seeing that as it's going to take time, but that's the next big movement going on. And I think if you're thinking of starting a business and you realize that is making a change, all of a sudden an influencer that actually delivers impact, that has impact in the community, impact on people online, that is huge. That's what the shallow, empty soul of a lot of people feel that influencers are. Is it's just a take all about me. Whereas what if all of a sudden the formula changed and it's all about these influencers that are just changing the world, and they happen to have a great story because they fought for our country? That's got me interested.
Wow. So you mentioned earlier in the show, we're going to provide a link for veterans business, maybe a little personal branding related. Talk to me a little bit more about that. What could they expect to get out of that, and how could it impact them?
Thank you for bringing that up. So, so if you went to your LinkedIn profile and printed it out and you handed it to me,
you would not be impressed.
The question is would I hire you?
Probably not, but for what?
Exactly, for what, right? So LinkedIn is one of those social networks that sets you up for failure, because it wants.
And they kind of teach you when you get out of the military, get your LinkedIn profile up and going. I mean, it's literally, I think it's a class.
Right. There is a class. We have one at our Arizona hiring event. So, but what they're doing is they want you to be diverse and show all the things that you've done. But the reality is that if you have a passion right now, you should rewrite your history to show that that's what you were born to do right now. And I use the example, if you're in sales and you worked a lot at McDonald's, then tell the story of how you upsold 2 out of 3 people with a Happy Meal. That shows that when you were in that job, you were really accelerating in sales, and that's why you're doing it right now. And that's what. So if you print out your resume or your LinkedIn profile and you hand it to someone, where are the holes? Get them filled. Here's what's missing in the military community is you guys are a tight community, a tight-knit group. I don't see that tight-knit group living online as a community. It's fragmented and it's disjointed, and it needs to be brought together. I think if every active military came out and they're like, I'm going to build that community, there's money to be made in that. And more importantly, there's lives to be saved in that.
That's awesome. So this link is going to tell them to fill in the holes. Is that what you're saying? To make them more marketable?
Make them more marketable. So you asked me the question, what would they get? So we have this personal branding exercise that
I like it.
will evaluate, what are you looking to be an expert at? And let's evaluate it based on who's out there. And instead of looking at it competitively, let's join forces. Let's figure out a strategy so that you can become that expert quickly. Let's fill in the holes from the network you have, and let's figure out a model so that we can propel that momentum. And, if you don't know what your passion is or what your company is, then you know what? There's probably a company out there that's doing exactly that. Instead of looking for a job, go find that company and tell them to hire you, because I am the expert in this space and I bring this to the table. That's how you find jobs.
Interesting. I ask I'm not going to say everybody, but pretty much everybody on the show, what's your advice for people getting out of the military? And approach it from, you've been a full-time entrepreneur for, let's call it 25 years. The ups and the downs. I know a little bit about your past story, and you've had to walk away from stuff. I'm sure you've had partners that you may not have gotten along with from.
Amen to that.
Yeah. So, a full-time entrepreneur for 25 years. And my personal definition of an entrepreneur, and I don't know if this is in Webster or whatnot, and I've only formed this in the past couple of years, but it's somebody who takes risk in a venture that's yours or a partner. And if you don't succeed, you don't eat dinner. That might
True.
be the extreme, but if you don't succeed, you don't eat dinner. You can be employee 60 at a big firm and have an entrepreneurial drive and an entrepreneurial nature, but you're employee 60, if shit hits the fan, guess what? You don't got to make payroll on Friday.
Yeah, right.
So entrepreneur advice for our veteran entrepreneurs out there, because you've been doing it for 25 years.
Start out with other people's money. It becomes less personal. So, if you can get funding, which I think there's going to be a lot of it available for startups, that's a really good place to start. But, the reality is you have to be living it and breathing it, and it becomes your life. And if you don't have a good foundation to work from, then you should think of doing it as a part-time deal, as a side gig, because you don't need to jump into something 100% in this day and age. You can freelance. I would get the education I need because it's available. I would get the experience I'd need. I would find a group that could mentor me and incubate my idea to a point where it's viable, versus taking a risk on a company without funding and backing and a bank to support you. I would never do that again.
You need to make sure the funding's there.
Make sure the funding's there.
Yeah.
And if it's something that you think you can just start with a small amount of money, that's great. But at the end of the day, unless you're just selling your services online and you're selling something that people can download, chances are you're going to need to grow and scale, and you're going to need funding and backing. So, unfortunately, that's an important step of the process. But the most important one is it's got to be something you just live and breathe. I think most people don't realize that there's a passion and an expertise out there that fits their future job.
There's a passion and an expertise out there that fits their future job. I like it. So where's this link? Where can veterans go to find this? What we talked about earlier?
So it's going to be at mintsocial.com/DJS. David Johnson Show.
mintsocial.com/DJS.
Yep.
I like it. Well, Matt, thanks for your expertise. Find your passion, find the audience. That's what I took out of this one major. I love what you're doing with the Arizona Foundation. Their hiring initiatives are great. We're going to have, I know down the road, another guest from that organization, and it's a great organization here in Arizona, and MintSocial is awesome. So thank you very much for coming out.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.